Welcome back to Unsolicited Life Advice. We're so glad to have you. I told you last time I would tell you the story of how my wife and I murdered a Smurf. Just as a forewarning, we did not actually murder a Smurf, but there was a period where we thought we had. So this story starts in the middle of the night, as a lot of really good stories do. We were dead asleep, and this incredibly loud crashing sound happened on our first floor. So we're upstairs in our bed. The sound, there was metal, there was glass, there was just, I don't know. Somebody kicked through our back door. That's what it sounded like. They kicked through our back door and they were destroying the whole house. I just, and as a newly married couple, my job was to sacrifice myself and to protect my wife. The problem is I don't have any defensive training. I didn't have any weapons. I didn't even have like a baseball bat. Definitely no guns. No BB guns either, you know. The best I had was one of those cheap brooms that you buy at like Dollar Tree. So I unscrewed the bristles because I didn't figure tickling them was going to do a whole lot of good. So I twisted that off, and I've got this really cheaply made bow staff. And to say that I'm not very good with a bow staff would be an overwhelming understatement. Not only am I not Donatello, I probably could beat no one with it. So essentially, I wasn't going down to really protect my wife. I was going to ensure that I, in fact, died first, and that she would have the opportunity to die second. So I head downstairs, and there's no one in my living room, thank goodness. They didn't jump me the second I got down the stairs. And then I move into the kitchen, and there's a horror scene where there had obviously been multiple Smurfs, maybe like all of the main cast of the Smurfs murdered in our house. It was blue everywhere. We had tile floors, and so it was this blue gooey blood was just pouring and catching this grout and just running through the entire kitchen. It was amazing and terrifying at the same time. The back door was not open, so I'm like, what in the world is this? Well, turns out that our container of liquid laundry detergent had decided to just give up in the middle of the night. And it fell off of the shelf onto the dryer, and then from the dryer onto our scale that we look at and determine how disappointed we are with ourselves. And after destroying that, it proceeded to burst the cap off and pour its contents all over our kitchen. This is one of, if not the biggest mess that I have ever seen in my adult life. I have to preface this with adult life because there's some stories of me as a child that are impressive, and I hesitate to tell those because I don't want to give your kids any ideas or anyone's kids, because I came up with some good stuff. So in the process of cleaning it up, we used every single towel that we owned. And one of the problems of cleaning up a mess that is 20 to 30 loads of laundry worth of soap with the towels that you have means that load of laundry is going to have to be washed multiple times. So the process of cleaning up the Smurf murder was an adventure and a half. And yeah, so that's the story of us murdering a Smurf. If y'all enjoy these stories, I'd love to continue telling them. They're funny to me. I hope they're funny to you. If they're not and they just annoy you, I can totally cut this out. So please let me know in the comments. Do you like the stories, or just give me the information? Plain and simple. I can do that. So today, as far as what we're going to be talking about, it's a little different. It's not as overwhelmingly big picture, life-altering, but it could be very life-altering for those of you who are parents or uncles, aunts, grandparents. Essentially, putting kids to bed is incredibly difficult. We need them to get enough rest, or else we're not going to function in the morning. They're not going to wake up to get to school. Any number of reasons, right, that we would want them to go to bed at a reasonable time. But getting kids to sleep is so difficult. And I found, at least for my kids, what has been kind of a hack, I guess. That's what everybody calls them nowadays. Cheat code, hack, whatever. But essentially, what we do is we take stories and things that we enjoy in our own lives and adapt them into nighttime stories. So, for example, one of the probably most loved for my kids was Pokemon, in part because I love Pokemon. You can probably see them over here. But essentially, I love Pokemon, always have, came out when I was 6 years old, and I have been a Pokemon master for a long time. Was not immediately. I was actually pretty dumb in Pokemon to begin with, but I'm a little better now. So that said, what I did is I adapted the old Pokemon red, blue, yellow video games that I have played way more times than I want to admit, and the Pokemon original TV show into a story for the kids. One of the things about Pokemon is it's a young boy who goes on an adventure, and it's set, morning to night. And so the episodes, a lot of them are based off of this mantra of, like, he has to go to sleep. Well, that is perfect for kids who are going to sleep. When the characters are going to be asleep, they have no reason to wake up. There is no next part of the story. There is no other story. The story has been told in its entirety, and if you want to hear the next part, you have to go to sleep and wake up the next day so that I can share the next leg of their adventure. And so with Pokemon, this looked a little different depending on the day. I would actually give the kids the opportunity to kind of choose, hey, look, we're walking up to Pewter City. There's a Pokemon gym there. The gym leader's name is Brock, but would y'all like to catch a few Pokemon today? Maybe look at evolving some of ours into a new, stronger version? Or do you want to take the gym? What do you want to do? And it would give them some creativity and ability to be involved. When it was time to catch a Pokemon, I had them throwing Pokeballs, because why not? They were involved. They were like, my son would be like, oh, there's one over behind that tree. It's a Scyther. Oh, and I was like, wow, that's amazing. How did you see it? But it creates the opportunity for them to participate. But then when it's time to end for the day, explaining that, hey, it's nighttime and it is time for us to rest because it is so dark and we're so exhausted after all the Pokemon that we've caught, all the battles that we've had. It's time for us to go to sleep. But you know what? Tomorrow, we'll have an exciting adventure again, and we look forward to seeing what happens with those characters. And my daughter, it was pretty obvious when she had fallen asleep, because she falls asleep usually before the story ends. She's at that age where she's going from going to sleep during the day and a nap to not. And so at the end of the day, she's like just already knocked out, right? But you could know, because she essentially was no longer throwing Pokeballs when we were supposed to. But it's a fun story. And this can really be done with anything. But my son, he would, when it was time to, hang it up for the night, to go tuck into our tent and get in the sleeping bag, he did just that. He got, comfortable in the bed, rolled over, and just fell asleep. And it's been a fun way to do that. And it doesn't have to be Pokemon. I've done this with telling the kids the story of some of the video games that I've played in the past that, maybe they don't have the skills to play themselves, or I'm not ready to play through an entire video game trilogy to let them see the story, and then also realizing that they also don't have the attention span to watch me play through an entire video game series. But I've shared with them, like, Sly Cooper. I've shared with them Spyro. I've told them part of the Lord of the Rings, but I got to keep, some of the scarier bits out. And it's a way for me to share some of the things that I enjoy, and maybe way for you to share some of the things that you enjoy with your kids, your grandkids, your nieces and nephews. and give them, just all you have to do is kind of add that nighttime. It's the end of the day. It's time for the characters to rest and relax. And by adding that little component, I know with my kids, it's created a wonderful opportunity for them to have a solid place to hang their hat and go to sleep, knowing that they're not going to miss out on anything because there's no more story to be had. There's not an extra book that we can read. It's just the end. That said, downsides to this is your kids are not able to actually watch you read the book. So they're going to pick up your vocabulary. So if you use big words and stuff, that does help them pick those words up, but it's not going to help them necessarily with the actual reading aspect. But if we're honest, depending on how old your kids are, they're not actually looking at the words either. They're looking at the pictures. So this is just a way that it's been a blessing for me to share some of these things from my childhood, and actually things that maybe I'm watching. I've enjoyed watching the entirety of One Piece, the anime in English dub. I don't do subtitles. But watching the anime and being able to share the story of what's happening with Luffy and his pirate crew with my kids, because one, they don't have the time to do that. I don't really either, but there's definitely some language components of that show that are not ideal. And so it allows me to share some of the things that I enjoy with them. I hope this helps. If it does, leave that in the comments too. Maybe if you take this upon yourself and you use it, tell us what stories you read. What did your kids enjoy? Are there... I forgot to turn my phone on silent. And yes, that is my ringtone. I am Batman. Of course it's my ringtone. As always, remember to make those memories with your friends and family and your loved ones. And if you're reading stories with your kids, it's something that they will remember, and they will carry that on to their kids, their nieces and nephews or whatnot. It's a way for you to invest in the next generation in a way that outlives you. Thank you so much for watching this video and for supporting all of our channel. Please like, subscribe, and share this video with a friend. All right, bye for now.